It really is incredible, and remarkable that with the Astros, and I know Baseball America's top 100 player list is a subjective list. There's no real stats. There's no computer science to it or anything. But they've, we're coming up on a decade here pretty soon of this period of dominance that they've had. At times dominant, at times merely highly competitive, but there's never been a major dip yet in this period.
At the very beginning, before you even knew a team, was where you make the playoffs in 2015. You don't in 2016, but at that point, we didn't know how good we were gonna have it.
Yeah, you're still kind of building at that point. Yeah.
Yeah. So from 2017 through last season, at the very least, a hell of a run of being World Series contenders and favorites at various times.
And managing to maintain your spot on lists like this. And for those who don't know, Baseball America puts out a top 100 player list every year right before the season starts. And while it feels like, especially this offseason, Seth, with Bregman and Tucker both leaving simultaneously, same offseason, this is the first one where you've really lost two guys like that on the heels of several years of losing at least one guy that's that sort of category of a top 100 player. All the guys they've lost at the time they've lost them have been on the list like this, and many of them way up the list like this. When Garrett Cole left, and when George Springer left, and Carlos Correa, and Justin Verlander, and now Alex Bregman and Kyle Tucker. And yet, the Astros tied for the second most players in the top 100 players list going into the season, with the Dodgers behind only the Braves, another team that's lost a bunch of guys. They're like the Astros of the NL in terms of that. Like, the Braves have lost a bunch of guys, and there's still 9 guys in the top 100. And who picked a lot of those guys or was involved with it? Dana Brown. That's who. Yeah. That's nice.
Yeah.
It's almost like Dana Brown's got 2 teams in there.
So they're tied for second or tied for third?
Tied for second. Tied for second with the Dodgers.
Tied for second on the list as of at least
players.
As of at least a couple days ago. The Astros to win World Series this year. So, all right. So I think you don't even have to know anything about the Astros where you can fill in where the difference is between, having the second most highly regarded players on your team versus, why you're a little bit lower down on the list. Yeah. It's because some of the deficits and some of the question marks are a lot bigger than they used to be for the Astros. Just having right now as it is in the lineup, we'll see, but having a center fielder and a right fielder that are huge minuses at the plate, that hurts. These things work against you. The part that I would be optimistic about as an Astros fan is I know that year in and year out, the Astros' younger pitchers are almost as a rule underrated by the rest of the league. And even though the league knows that the guys like Hunter Brown are going to come along, or that Spencer Arrighetti very well could develop into a solid starting pitcher, they're calling it as they see it right now.
Yes. And I think the other reason, too, if we're just taking this group of 8 players as sort of the correlation between how good are you versus, with respect to how many top 100 players you have, they've got 8 in the top 100. They've got 2 in the top 68. You know what I mean? So So Jordan's 13th on the list. Framber is 44th on the list. And then, so you're probably going, okay, well, that's 2, and we're already to 44. Yeah, Christian Walker is next at 69. The Astros have 5 more players from 74 on. Jose Altuve is 74, which is a little depressing to see because it's one of those things like, that's cool. He's still top 100. Trending that direction where we've got to start to worry about Jose Altuve. Isaac Paredes is 76, which I think tells you, okay, good job, Dana Brown. Good pickup in the Kyle Tucker trade. Yainer Diaz makes his first appearance in the top 100, 85. Hunter Brown makes his first appearance in the top 100, 94. Jeremy Pena returns to the top 100. He was 97 a couple years ago, dipped out for a year, and now he's 98. So you got a bunch of guys that are in that, in terms of a list like this, that are in that very good but not yet great or not great anymore category.
Yeah. It's a different ecosystem, Sean. I'm going to start using the ecosystem the same way the Magnificent Gladstone uses it. I'm going to talk about the ecosystem of the Astros and how they can get back to the ecosystem they used to be.
You had to pick one guy out of these 8 who would be a major surprise one way or the other, who either would who could shoot way up the list this year, or maybe is overrated on this list a little bit. Yainer.
Yainer.
Yep.
Yeah. Yainer would be the guy. Yainer did a lot of things really well as a young catcher last year, and his ability at the plate is very, very promising. I think Yainer is the guy that's probably less discussed than he should be, but still is a work in progress. Yainer continue to improve defensively. Now, and remember there was an article out earlier in the year that said, well, okay, he was really bad at pitch framing, and which is a big deal these days in baseball. But people were saying, well, it might not matter in the strike zone because of the challenge system. Mm-hmm. You got to remember, you only get 2 challenges per game, or at least 2 successful challenges. You only get 2. How's it work? You get 2 challenges. If you're successful, you can keep challenging. But it's not like it's going to take pitch framing completely out of it.
Right.
Because the pitch framing especially is good for the ones that the batter isn't going to feel confident enough to challenge. That it was like, okay, it was right on the brink, it was right on the line, and you're getting those calls that an umpire might have maybe made a mistake and called it in versus out and all that. So it's a thing. He's got to keep working on that.
That's a great point. It still matters. Yeah, you get the way I understand it is you get to keep challenging until you get 2 of them wrong.
Right.
And then once
I just tried to figure out a succinct way to phrase that.
Yeah.
You start off with 2 challenges, you can lose them, so it's not like you can use them liberally whenever you feel like it. You got to be careful about it. So pitch framing is still going to matter.
Still going to matter, yeah. It's still going to matter.
You got to fool the batter a little bit, you know?
Yeah.
Now with the pitch framing before, you're trying to fool the umpire, but now you also got to be sure that the batter doesn't feel like you had to jerk your glove out there to get it.
That's right. Yainer's a good one. I would say, man, all 3 at the bottom of this list of guys in the top 100, like Yainer, Hunter Brown, and Jeremy Pena, I all think are fantastic candidates for the answer to the question I posed to you. If there were a big riser from these, because I mean Hunter Brown is 94 on the strength of basically 4 months of baseball last year. He was abjectly the worst starting pitcher in baseball if he had the entire season last year that he had from June on, he'd be like, I feel more like he's that guy because that's how he ended the season. Then he's going to revert back to what he was. And Pena's been outstanding this spring. I mean, we've all been kind of waiting and hoping for Jeremy Pena's offensive game to catch up to what he was offensively in the postseason in 2022. Like for 2022 to not look like the anomaly anymore, to make it look like all the work that he puts in the offseason in becoming a better hitter comes to fruition with some better numbers. And he's had a really good spring so far.
I guess I'm glad you brought up Hunter Brown, because it's true that, hey, he added the sinker. R.I.P. Alex Bregman. Thank you for everything you did for us.
60th best player, Alex Bregman, encouraged that, yes.
Including, suggesting that Hunter Brown uses sinker. But after, I didn't arbitrarily choose this, after his last, he had a poor performance in June 2nd.
Okay.
After that, he ended up, so from June 8th through the end of the season, he had a 2.2 ERA.
Wow.
With a batting average of 221 against him.
Yeah, I mean, that's
in my mind, okay, that's where I'm glad you framed it the way you did, because I think I've almost thought, like, Hunter Brown is who he was from June onward, and that's all there is to it. He does have to show that he can do it for an entire season.
Full season.
Because I did the same thing with Javier, where Javier kind of got worked into being a starting pitcher and then ended up being brilliant, but in limited usage, and then it was different once he had to do it for an entire season.
That's the big question with all of these guys, that the pitchers that are trying to be fixtures on the staff, is even in this day and age where they get load managed a lot more closely. You know, there's more science behind it. A lot of teams with 6-man rotations, so you're pitching every 5 days instead of every 4 days, that kind of thing. Or with 4 days rest, you're pitching with 5 days rest, that kind of thing. They're all, by definition, approaching innings loads that they've never hit before. You know, there's nobody pitching 210 innings in the minor leagues or in college or in high school or anything like that.
Yeah, it's a big leap to
question mark.
What you're hoping for.
Yep.
I tell you, if I cherry picked even further and went from July 12th to the end of the season, because there was one, he gave up 7 earned runs on July 6th versus Minnesota.
Oh, I was there. I was at that game.
Yeah, that's right. You were at that game.
Yeah.
It's not, honestly, that one bad outing didn't hurt him all that much over, from June onward, because his ERA was 2.32 as opposed to 2.4, whatever.
Yeah.
But from June onward, That was an outstanding major league pitcher.
Absolutely.
Last year.
Absolutely. And if I wasn't at the ballpark, he'd have been even better. Is there a way, can you filter games Sean Pendergast was not at?
I don't know. I'm not going to pay for the premium version of Baseball Reference because that's one of those things that in a fit of desperation at 3 a.m., I'll be like, yeah, I'll pay $30 a month for these advanced stats and ability to do calculations. And then a year and a half later, I'm emailing a furious email to Baseball Reference saying, I never signed up for this. I don't know what you got. I don't know what shenanigans you guys are up to, but I demand a refund.
I got a little horny for some advanced stats, and it happens on the internet, man. You spend money on stuff that you never thought you'd spend money on before.
Never go on Baseball Reference drunk, okay?
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. Only Stats. I went on onlystats.com. So those are the 8. If you're wondering, former Astros on this list, Kyle Tucker, 14, right behind Yordan. 60, Alex Bregman. Carlos Correa still getting a little top 100 love. 84th on the list of top 100 players.
Kyle Tucker, for any of you interested in a little bit of like, let's follow this through. All right, he came back from his injury last year. Remember where he kind of just lazily took his time coming back from what was a minuscule microscopic fracture. Small enough that modern technology into imaging couldn't even pick it up. Yet he saw fit to basically sit out an entire from the vernal equinox to the summer solstice and beyond.
That was strong.
In the playoffs, he batted 0.0. And so far in the regular season, he batted 0.000.
Yep.
He was over 4 today on opening day in Japan. Yes.
Do you think most Astro fans root for these guys that leave in free agency or root against guys that leave in free agency?
They root for George Springer, and that it hasn't worked out that well. I think most will root for Alex Bregman, except for the unfortunate circumstance of him playing.
And there was narrative around how he handled the whole free agency too, where I think a lot of Astro fans just remember that how long it took for him to arrive at going to the Red Sox. There was a.
So you think they're going to root against him?
Yeah, there was like a Bregman fatigue at the end of that whole journey.
There definitely was for me by the time it was over, and it was definitely over. I was more mad at baseball writers than I was at Alex Bregman himself.
Yeah.
Carlos Correa.
Complicated.
I think people are just what's that?
Complicated. Carlos Correa.
It's complicated. Yeah. I don't think they want to see him have success. I don't think they root against him, but I don't think they really want to see him have success. Who else am I missing?
Verlander.
Verlander will be. Yeah, I think Verlander they'll root for.
I root
unless
for
he's
Verlander.
Playing the Astros. I think people will be. Plus, Verlander's at the point now where it's just it's a good story.
Yeah.
You see a guy pitching well in his 40s if he does well. That'd be really good. Good for him. That's go Nolan Ryan that joint. Yeah.
I can't quite put my finger on it, but Tucker is at the top of the list of guys that I hope fail at his next stop.
I really do. Yeah. I really hope he fails.
Okay,
and
you
fails
and I are in
miserably.
sync
I hope
on
he
that.
falls
Okay.
flat on his big stupid face.
That's kind of what I'm thinking too.
I hope a baseball hits him in the forehead as he lazily tries to make his way over to. Because you know what it is with Tucker?
What is it?
It's that he just defensively seems like he lost interest the last couple of years.
Yeah,
It felt like all those things where early in his career, A.J. Hinch had to have a talking to with him about how he needs to show the same level of urgency as the other guys on the Astros.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I eagerly await him getting a gigantic contract somewhere else. Disappointment and a weight around the ankles of some poor franchise that gave him a 12-year deal.
Okay,
Yes.
okay, this is a good segue.
I want him to poo-holes the hell out of some franchise.
This is in 11 years, 336, man. That's what they were estimating yesterday on MLB.com.